The idea of a bust in sports is now commonplace among fans. It seems like nowadays highly ranked rookies are under a microscope from fans, with a tremendous amount of pressure to live up to the expectations. While many succeed, there are always those talents who show the highest potential, but they're not able to get it to translate to the big stage. And then there's the curious case of Vince Young, who proved in his first year that he was worth the hype, but was only setting himself up for a bigger fall as he would never really live up to his college days and his first year in the NFL. Before we get into what happened with Young's career, don't forget to like and subscribe below if you want to see more content like this. The height of Young's career started in his days with the Texas Longhorns. As a member of the Longhorns, Young became one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, eventually winning the Davey O'Brien Award and coming in second to Reggie Bush in the Heisman voting. A year prior, Young started every game for the Longhorns, leading them to an 11-1 record, but falling short to rivals Oklahoma. A year later, and after losing to Bush for the Heisman Trophy, Young led his team to an incredible 12-0 season, and all the way to the national championship game against Reggie Bush and the USC Trojans. The game was one of the most anticipated in college football history, and it definitely lived up to its hype. In a game for the ages, Young and the University of Texas beat USC 41-38. Young was dominant, throwing for 267 yards and rushing for 200 and more, including 3 touchdowns, one of which was the iconic scramble that won the Longhorns the championship in the final seconds. Young was a star among stars. He was named the Longhorns MVP and then All-American. In the process, he set the then record for the most quarterback wins for the team and the 6th best winning percentage in Division I history. Vince Young was a bona fide star, and the momentum did not stop there. After being drafted with the 3rd overall pick to the Tennessee Titans, Young went straight to work, proving that his college career wasn't a fluke and that he was a valuable pro and an NFL star. While Young didn't start for the Titans right away, he eventually earned his spot and ended up performing well. After getting the starting role, Young was able to get his first win and then lead the team to some pretty impressive comeback wins. In one particular come-from-behind win, Young led his team with 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 107.9 passer rating to come back from a 21-0 deficit against the New York Giants. By the end of the season, Young had set the then record for the most rushing yards in a season by a rookie quarterback, won the Rookie of the Year award, and was selected to his first Pro Bowl. Moving into the next year of his career, fans got a glimpse of some of the issues with Young's mental health and his relationship with his coach, Jeff Fisher. A story came out saying that Young was considering quitting football after his stellar first season. NFL.com quoted Young about potentially quitting as he said, "I really thought long and hard about it. There was so much going on with my family. It was crazy being an NFL quarterback. It wasn't fun anymore. All the fun was out of it. All of the excitement was gone. All I was doing was worrying about things." Young later stated that things were blown out of proportion and that he wasn't actually going to quit football. But the cracks started to show in his love for the game. Along with this, Young started butting heads with Fisher in the preseason of his second year. Young was benched for sleeping at home instead of at the team hotel. Regardless of this, he started 15 games for his Titans and improved his completion percentage by 10%. Although flaws were seen in his game when Young threw only 9 touchdowns compared to his 17 interceptions. This terrible touchdown to interception ratio led to a fair amount of booing from Tennessee fans and showed Young become despondent to the team. However, Young led the lackluster Titans to the playoffs. Unfortunately for him, Young was disappointing in that game and the Titans were booted in the first round. Young needed to prove to fans that he would be able to perform efficiently for the Titans in order to bring them further into the playoffs. However, he would lose that chance. In the first game of his 3rd season against the Jaguars, Young went down with a knee injury and was expected to miss a couple of weeks. While the injury shouldn't have taken Young out for too long, Kerry Collins replaced Young while he was injured and went on a tear, bringing the Titans to a 10-0 start and led them to a 13-3 finish on the season. Because of Collins' hot streak, Fisher named him the starting quarterback and Young was the backup for the first time since the first few games of his rookie season. It seemed that Fisher and the Titans fan base was ready to move on from Young and focus on Collins and the new Titans playing style. It was around this time that Young's mental health issues started to leak to the public. Fisher notified Nashville police asking them to do a wellness check on Young after his therapist called Fisher and told him that Young had mentioned suicidal thoughts and then drove away with an apparent gun in the trunk of his car. This news quickly became widespread and it was broadcast throughout ESPN. The news came as a shock to much of the NFL, but became more apparent in hindsight, as Young said he had been struggling with the stress of being in the league. However, Young told the press that he believed the news of his mental health struggles were blown way out of proportion and that the gun in the back of his car wasn't even loaded. Young believed he was being set up by his team and the media and that they stuck him with the stigma of all these psychological issues, making him look unfit for his team in the league. To make things worse, former Titans quarterback and multiple-time Pro Bowler Steve McNair was killed in a murder-suicide by a woman he was in a relationship with. Young looked up to McNair, who had come to his games as a teenager, and he struggled to cope with his death. With the death of a mentor, an unwelcoming and unsupportive coach, and being reserved to a backup role with the Titans, it seemed that the pressure of the NFL was piling up on Young. However, going into his 4th season in the league, Young would be given another chance. No thanks to his coach, even as Collins led the team to an 0-6 start to the 2009 season along with a 59-0 loss to the Patriots. Fisher is quoted as saying, "I'm still in Kerry Collins' corner because I don't believe that our record is a reflection of the quarterback play. It's a reflection of the team play. I'm still in this corner, but we've decided to go ahead and make this change." Fisher was basically made by the team's owner, Bud Adams, to make Young the starting quarterback. With another chance given by the Titans owner, Young was able to make a comeback, not only for himself, but for the Titans as well, becoming the first team in NFL history to win 5 straight after losing the first 6 games of the season. Young really showed out in a game against the Cardinals and a Rose Bowl rematch against Matt Leinart as he led the Titans on a late-game 99-yard drive to complete the come-from-behind win. Young was named to his 2nd Pro Bowl selection and was 3rd in the NFL Comeback Player of the Year award voting. Things were looking up for Vince Young. However, the 2010 season started. Young wasn't playing as well as he did in the previous season and suffered a thumb injury. While preparing to re-enter a game, Fisher and Young got into an altercation, ending in Young ripping off his pads and storming out of the stadium. It seemed that the relationship between Young and Fisher was finally beyond repair, and after Young was taken out of the starting quarterback role, owner Bud Adams announced that Young wouldn't be on the team's roster for the following season. The next season would be the official decline of Young's career as he signed with the Eagles and produced a lousy 1-2 record as the starter, the last of those starts ending with 4 interceptions. That game would be the last start of Young's NFL career. In the following 3 seasons, he would be picked up by the Bills, Packers, and Browns, getting released shortly after each signing. By May 12, 2014, Young would be out of the NFL for good. In early 2017, Young would sign with the Saskatchewan Roughriders of the CFL, but Young's unlucky streak was still carrying on as he injured his hamstring and would be out for another 4 to 6 weeks. Only a few days later, Young was waived by the CFL team. Among all of his on-field struggle, Young had incredible financial problems, allegedly spending the $34 million in salary that he had earned throughout his career and defaulting on a $1.7 million loan. Young blamed his financial advisors, but it was reported that Young had expensive spending habits, and by 2014, he would file for bankruptcy. Along with these financial troubles, Young would also have some legal issues after his NFL career, getting arrested for a DWI in 2016 and 2019. In less than 8 years, Young went from one of the best quarterbacks in the game to being cut by every team he signed with. 3 years later, he wasn't even able to make it in the CFL. Young showed flashes of greatness, but kept butting heads with Fisher and never really showed up down the stretch of the season like he did when he was in college. With financial, personal, and on-the-field troubles throughout his short-lived career, it seemed like the pressure of the NFL really came down on Young. What do you think about the downfall of Vince Young? Let us know down in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. Until next time, thanks for watching. Have a good one.